All right, everybody, welcome. And in this video, I'm going to share with you how you can easily create an amazing, visually appealing a WordPress plugin that's going to help you see how many posts you have done in a month, in a day, in a week. Is just going to be outstanding, I promise you. So let me show you exactly what are we going to build, and then we're going to build it. And so here we go. So after you install the WordPress plugin, and all you gotta do is click on activate, like in here. I already activated, so we don't have to worry about it. And then once you activate this, you're gonna get this menu that says post calendar. And once you get this up, once you load it up and the screen comes up, you're gonna see this visually calendar, which will have the date, and you can go back and forward like this and go back and forward any way you like, or you can just click on this today's button and click there, and then it's going to tell you like, hey, on June the 15th there was one post that was published which has the title or the header to be say just TES, and then there was a one that is scheduled, the word that says future, and it says future post that is scheduled to go live on this particular day, which is July 1st. And then we have another one published on 25, another one published on 27, and then this yellow box looking thing in here, that's what it is for today. And we're gonna learn how to create this. So if you're excited, I'm excited. So let me show you how easily you could do that. If you have not created a WordPress plugin before, this is going to give you a little good understanding on how to create it. However, if you want to have a deeper understanding, there's going to be a link in the below which you could take the course, and that will give you more deeper analysis of it. But if you have a basic understanding of how does the WordPress plugin works, trust me, you are going to find this very, very helpful. So let's go in here and let's look at the file. So what typically how it works is in the WordPress directory, which is right here, the WordPress plugins are stored in the WP-content, and then there's a folder called plugins, and then in here these are all your plugins that you will reside. And if you don't know, now you know. So one that we are going to be working on in this video is called post calendar, and then the first file is going to be this, and then there's going to be a database file which I'll go into it. But normally what I do is I structure my plugin in a way so it's more organized. So in here, we're only going to be utilizing 2 of the file for this particular WordPress plugin. So once again, if you are new to it, you understand the structure and how it works and everything else, just click the link below and you'll be able to, on your way to creating amazing, outstanding WordPress plugin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this file up, which is right over here. And then at the top right over here, this portion of it, basically it is your WordPress plugin name, URL, a little bit description with the version, the author, and your author URL. So where the hell does that go? So if you go to plugins, and let me zoom this in for you guys, not too much I guess. So right over here, so this is what it is. So this is your plugin name, the description, and then this is the plugin URL right over here, and this is the author, the name, and everything else. This is what is happening. Right, I guess right about there should be enough. So this is the author name, the URL, the plugin name, and a plugin URL, so on and so forth. And then I'm including this database file because I'm going to show you guys a little slick way how you can use this class and not have to worry about using the built-in function within the WordPress, because sometimes they are a little hard to maneuver around if you have been around the game using those functions, and they are not the most easiest one. Is sometimes it's just a lot easier just to use your regular PHP to MySQL, the PDO, and all that stuff, and just makes life a whole lot easier. And that is what we are going to be using in this class. And then one thing that I do want to show you in here, and this is the class right over here in the same folder. And in here, if you want to learn more about it, you could just go to this particular URL, and this is the class that I created. Makes it so much easy connecting to the database and manipulating and all that stuff. So these right over here, I have included here. So this is like your global variable, your database name, user, password, and then actually the host, the username, password, and the database name. These are global variable which you can find if you go back to your main directory, and there's a file called wp-config, which is right over here. And then here they are. And then these particular variable, you can access it throughout anywhere on the WordPress platform, anywhere in there. So what I did was I just included in this particular class, so that way I could just start using the class as is for what it's worth, so I could do a CRUD operation and all that good stuff. So let's move right on. So this is what is happening so far. We have done nothing. So if you want to add a admin menu, this is the part right here. So this is what they call as actions or hooks. So you include this particular function where the first parameter is the admin menu and the second parameter is the function that is going to run. So what that means, this right over here, basically that particular line of code is going to add a menu, will be right over here. So let's go back here. So the name, I just made this super easy for you guys. So when you are implementing it, you literally just use this as a template and start to create amazing WordPress plugin, which is the first one is the menu title. Let's put this side by side, maybe right here. No, maybe a little more. So I guess it's not gonna work. So I'll just put it right here. Let's go here. So here it is. So your WordPress menu page title. So what that means, so when I click on this, the right over here on the top of your page, that's what it is. It's not really necessary for you to use it, but it's nice to have it. It's just like your page title, nothing major. And then whatever the name of the button that you want to call, you just put it over here, and then slug being which will be the app post, which you will find it right over here in your URL parameter. And then it's going to be the menu function that is going to go and fire off, which means all the things that this particular function is going to have, which means that anything that shows up in here is going to be controlled in this function. So one more thing, what I want to show you, which is your icon, which is this right over here, which can be controlled to this. So how do you get the list of icons that WordPress offers? And you can easily find this in this particular URL, and there is a ton of them, like literally ton of these right here. So let's say, for example, if I want to add like a, I don't know, a house, I click on this, and then literally when I click on the house, this will come up, and I just copy this and then go back here and just change it, and it's that simple. And then the menu position, the higher the number, the higher it's gonna go. The lower the number, the lower the position of your admin menu will be. I just made it into a 6 because it'll be right under post. But if you want to go up and high, you could change the number to like 10, 12, 13, 14, so on and so forth. If you want it to be higher, like up right above right above your post, you can make it like 2 or 3. That will make it right there. So far, nothing major has happened. We're just adding a menu, which is right over here. And then this particular thing is just going to go and add that menu page. Literally, it says add a menu function. That's it. This particular function is within your WordPress functions, so we don't have to do that. So this particular one right here, we are calling this where it says main menu load app. This particular function is called right here. So from here on out, where the magic is going to take place. So I am just including this library, a couple of libraries actually. The top one is your awesome function. If you have watched any of my videos, you know I love me some Jquery, and I love awesome function library because it's amazing. If you haven't used it, go check out, just Google awesome space functions, and you'll see how powerful that thing is. And also one thing I'll also want to mention is that particular library, this particular library, the awesome function, it already has included your Moment.js, which is the latest version, also Node.js. load-js. So you can literally take a full benefit of this particular library because it has the latest version of it as of this moment. So this is going to come in handy. And then this particular library, which is what I call as my JavaScript SQL, literally, because you will see how easy this thing makes manipulating your JSON arrays. And then this right over here, this is what actually makes the function run. And then we are gonna get this AJAX request where we are gonna send it back to the server, and which is gonna make it easier for us to get all the posts, which is right over here, all the posts that are available. And then we want to use this particular URL. You could literally just copy and paste it, and that's it. That's what you gotta do, and just assign it to a variable so that way we could use it later on. And then moving on, and then if you're gonna be using jQuery, you know I love me some jQuery, right? So just include this over here because sometimes there is a conflict between the $sign that jQuery uses, the WordPress uses somewhere in their processes. So don't just so you don't have any conflict, just use this jQuery.noConflict and then make it a jQuery. And then within this particular thing, in this particular code, you can literally use anything you want, literally. And then you will have full functionality of the JavaScript. All right, let's move on. And then first thing, what we want to do when page loads up, meaning when I go over here and when I click on this and then the page loads up, and then it's going to go to the PHP world behind scene, get to SQL, and then grab all the data from a table that is called post, which is right over here. So which is right here. And then one thing I would recommend you to use is this thing, this action, which is required when you're sending information to the AJAX request, which we'll see soon enough. So let's say if you have ever used jQuery AJAX, this was going to look very, very, very familiar. So this is the function that I am creating, that I created, and it just sends the AJAX request, your AJAX URL, which is right here, which is coming straight from the WordPress platform and within their framework. That's what you gotta do. So you don't have to remember it. Just copy, paste, and it's done. And then your data string, which will take your JSON object, which has two particular parameter. One is called call type and action. Action is the one that it will know that this particular AJAX request is for this particular function. So when it goes to PHP world, it will only be validated when this is called, and you will see it soon enough. It will make all the sense in the world. So let's move forward, and then we're just sending it as a JSON. When we get back, if everything is good, then we're going to get this particular post, which is going to have all of this. Let me just zoom out a little bit. All of these post data where the information is only for posts, because you will see right here it has a reversion, and then you will see it also it will have a page right over here. So we don't want a page, we only want stuff that has a post type of post. So let's go back here, and then once it gets up here, and then we're gonna use this ALA SQL. And trust me, let me show you guys real quick. You could just Google it, and this is gonna be the first result. When you show this up and go through this, trust me, you're gonna be so happy when you finally learn how to do that. Because if you could use MySQL, you're gonna find using this particular library a lot more effective, because you could literally create a temp table, you can insert information into the temp table, then you can query it just like you're using your MySQL tables. It's gonna be so powerful. So do that, and then here, as you can see, when I start to write this statement, so basically what I'm saying, select ID post title, status, post date, and then GUI, which is the URL, and then make it as a post URL from, in this case will be the data that is getting it from, and then order by the post date, which is the post date. And just to show you, if I go back to my MySQL, on all of these columns are right here coming from this table called post. And I'll show you how you can dynamically call this table, because sometimes when you are calling, you will notice that I have a different prefix compared to some others, because when you do the installation of your WordPress platform, it gives you an option. By default, it is WP underscore, whatever you want to call it. However, some people call it something else because of the security reason, whatever the reason might be. So I'll show you how you can customize it where it will be dynamically, no matter what they called, you will always get this particular post table. So let's move on. So in here, I just call it, and let me just zoom out. It's a little, maybe too much. Maybe a little more right there, I think is good enough. But don't worry if you guys are like, oh my God, I can't read it, I didn't want to copy this. I will leave a link in the description for you. So that way you can go on and copy this code and implement it into your own project or learn it. So that way you can recreate this or make it even something better. That's going to be awesome. And you know, that's that. So let's move forward. So this function basically goes to the table and grabs the data and it brings it back. And once it brings it back, then it's going to go and then create your calendar. So I'm going to stop right here for now. So let's go where it goes to the PHP world and gets the SQL. So let's go to this, which is your this function right here, which is your Ajax. So remember what I said, this action. So anything that you put right here where it says admin post calendar. So if I go back here, this was the action, the admin post calendar. This is the action is going to refer to this right here. So anything after WP underscore Ajax underscore anything after that is going to refer to that particular action. And in here, we're just going to create another hook. And from this, it's going to call this function. And once you call this function, this is going to be like, oh my God, wait, just wait. So in here, I just assigned the variable called post. Anything that we send is post request. It's not a get request. So we're going to check to see if the call parameter, which I'll scroll up here, right over here, if it's set. If it is set, then it's going to be great. Otherwise, it's going to say, hey, is it an error? Like the reason why I said it, I made it this way. So somebody gets the hold of this and they don't know, and they try to send a post request to your thing. And if this is not set, it's not going to return anything for them or for you. So then it's going to say, hey, there's an error missing call type. But however, if it does have a call type, then we can move forward. And this is where you're going to be like, holy cow, this is so easy. So there is a global variable called WPDB, and then you can use this particular line to get the prefix of the table. So the table, remember when I said I just called it code with mark, which is CWM underscore. But it could be like WP something, blah, blah, blah. You don't have access to all the tables. So putting this in here, that's just going to put the prefix, and then we can hit that post table. And then this is going to be the table name. And now the class that I included earlier, I just need to assign it to a variable, and then we are connected to the database. I mean, it's literally that simple. And after that, we just write your regular select MySQL query, which is select all from table name, which is the code with mark, which is CWM, and then where the post type is post and the status is not equal auto draft. Because there's sometimes when you're typing something and then let's say, let me show you real quick. So when you're typing something, right, and then all of a sudden the thing just starts to say, which is your status. Where is the status at? There it is. So here it is. You will see there's an auto save. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a good thing that they save it, but sometimes you don't want it to save it. You don't want to include that in there. So you don't want to include your auto draft or inherent. And then only thing I want to include is your publish, draft, and future. This will be your post status. So let's move forward. So this is going to get all of them, and then it's going to put it into the variable, and once it's done, it's going to assign it here, and once it's there, and then we can move forward. Before we move forward, I just want to mention this. Make sure that you include this die part at the end of your block. So for example, when the F block, if you cannot find it, I just click on die. Otherwise, for some reason, it continues to continues to read to another line and another line and another line. And this can cause a few errors and a few headache and a few late night working. You don't want that. So just include die right after this. So let's move back up here where we create our calendar, which is going to be right here. So to create the calendar, since we have already created an array where it's going to be calling this particular function, which is a JavaScript function, and within this function we're just calling this particular one because we're only filtering out the ID, the post ID, the status, the date, and the URL, and then order by the post date. And then we're going to call this, and then we're going to loop through this particular array in the each function, which with Jquery, fairly simple thing. And then we're going to call this start, which means the date that it has created. So for example, let's say this one. So this one, the date that I'm picking is right over here, which is the post date. So it's going to be June 25th, 2021. And I'm just gonna call it here, and I'm using a moment.js to get the date value of it rather than the time. So if you go back here, you'll see it has the time as well as the date, but I want to extract the date out of it. So which you could do by using a moment.js, and which is part of the awesome function library. So you don't have to call it another one, you just include it, and that's that. And then the ID part, let me just show you. I am just including it right here, same thing. So all of these, so this ID, this post status, and the title is coming right out of the table of the post, which is the WordPress framework. And then I made a color to call it a green. You can obviously change this to anything you want. And then the post ID, post title, I'm just going to label it post title, and then your post URL, which will be this URL right over here that is embedded into your WordPress table. And then we have post status, post date, and then I'm using this time to convert it into a time, which you don't really need it, but I just converted it in there. So this gives me a JSON array full of information filled with post. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on and create a calendar, which it already has a calendar ID right over here. This is just a small block. This is basic your regular div container, which is, if I go back here, so this has this, and then it has an empty container, which you will see with this right over here. And if I scroll up right over here, I just assigned it a regular auto string, which is like a random string, which has a numbers and letters, and I assigned it to this particular container, which has a class of calendar. I just say assign the ID to this automatically, and then we can move forward right over here. So in here, I'm just adding an ID attribute to it, and then once I get the ID attribute to it, I'm going to assign it to this calendar ID, and then this is going to initiate my calendar, and then it's going to have my title, the previous, next, and today's button on it. And then when I click on it of my calendar, which means if I click on this green button where it says publish, it's going to take me right to that particular post. So that is cool. So hopefully so far I haven't confused you. If I did, please leave a comment below because I really want you to create this for yourself. So let's say we created this post calendar event, and then we're gonna assign it to this particular block, and that's gonna help you have all of those rows, all of those posts in here as a JSON array. And then when someone clicks on it, like I showed you right over here, and it's going to open to another window, which is this post URL, which we assigned it earlier right over here. However, you do have an option if you want to, only if you want to. You could literally just move this around. As this thing is so powerful, I haven't included it yet, but if you guys are interested in learning how to do that, you could literally just move this post, the whole thing, and change the date to any date that you want to. You will literally just stack it up, and behind scenes with the AJAX request, it's going to go and update it accordingly. But obviously I didn't include it, so I just, when I move it around, it will take you back to the where it was. But if you are interested in learning how to do that, comment below and I'll show you how to do that. It will make it easier. And then at the end, you just call this calendar render, and it's gonna give you this wonderful, amazing calendar that looks beautiful. If I refresh it, it's gonna print it out just like this with all the shabam magic, and wada bing, bada boom, there you have it, your calendar for your post that is visually appealing, that you can see how many posts you have done any given day, week, and month. And obviously you can go back and forward, like here, and if you want to look at any one of these posts, you can just click there and take it right there. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, let me know in the comment or subscribe and all that good stuff. And as I always say, happy coding, guys.